Good afternoon, everyone who have joined. I will not be able to wait for some more time. I will be starting the class quickly. So those who have joined now, they are all welcomed. Those who will be joining later on, they can join in the meanwhile while the class is still running. Let us begin. In this ninth unit, we are going to cover up with a concept with regard to how do we interface, how to interact with our Oracle database or any other database with the help of our Java language. So if I want to give a connectivity between the Java language and the database, then what technology we will be using? We'll be using a JDBC connection. Then if I want to develop some server-side web development programs using Java, then I will be using Java servlets. Okay. So these things we will be learning today. Just give me 2 minutes. I will be waiting for 2 more minutes because only 6 participants are available here. I'll be waiting for few more to join up. Let's see wait for 2 minutes. So welcome everyone whoever has joined. There are about participants. Let's continue with them. The remaining can go through the video. No issues with that regard. So in this unit, we are going to learn the details about how do we interface with the database using Java, how do we interact with our tables and what type of programs are needed for it. Then we will try to see how do we create our HTML supported Java programs. These servlets are those programs which are going to run and execute on the server machine, and those are the Java programs which are connected with our HTML programs, so that that particular HTML file can generate a new HTML file for us, dynamic HTML file, which can be given as a result back to the browser, whoever client is trying to access that one. So let's see what content we are going to see in this particular unit. We are going to see regarding what is the life cycle of servlet. Just like thread was having some functions, moving the thread from one state into another state. Like that, we have got for servlet one state to another state movement based on certain functions. And servlet's life cycle is very easier than that of your thread life cycle. So like that, we'll try to understand what is servlet development kit available in Java. We'll try to create a simple servlet application program. We'll try to understand what are the various other functions, try to list them up, what are the various other classes that are available in Java X servlet package. It is not Java, it is Java extension dot servlet package. Like that, we'll try to see how do we read certain parameters. These parameters are nothing but the characteristics of the servlets or attributes of the servlet using which we can control the servlet's functioning. We'll try to see all of them. Then we'll try to see what are the HTTP request and response. How do those HTTP request and response work? Then we'll concentrate from 7th point onwards to connect onto JDBC servers. How do we interact with Java database connectivity, and what are the drivers involved in that one? We'll try to see the types of drivers also. Then we'll try to see what steps are needed to establish a JDBC connection with a database. Then how to create a statement which can be executed using JDBC. We'll try to create a simple application, JDBC application, and try to see the execution of query. Then we'll try to understand when the result is being returned as per the query that has been given to using JDBC, given to the database. What result is returned back from the database? How do we interpret it? What will be the result called as? It will be called as a result set. And in that result set, there is another category called as scrollable result set. We'll try to see all those functions which are basically for interacting with the database there. Then we'll try to see how do we have the transactions to be developed in the database and some advanced concepts with regard to JDBC. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I was having some urgent person coming and interacting in between, so I had to divert there. Please excuse me for that thing. So let's continue with the contents. So these are the 13 things that we'll be seeing in our entire unit. So now going further, I will not continue with the servlets first. I will continue with the JDBC. Then I will try to make use of the JDBC in the servlets. Is it clear? So we are not going servlets directly. We are going with the JDBC first. Then we will try to see what is the servlet. So first, let us try to understand what is JDBC. As the name says, we have got a Java database connectivity. The expansion of JDBC is Java database connectivity. This is actually an interface. This is actually an interface which will help us to interact with our database. So we have got our Java application. Java is a separate language. Oracle database is a separate part. In order to interact in between them, we need a third party or an intermediary middleware. We call them as middleware technically. We need this middleware application interfaces such that the connectivity between these two separate entities or separate languages can be established. Okay, so Java database JDBC is a Java API application interface to connect and execute query with the database. Okay. Java JDBC API uses JDBC drivers to connect with the database. It needs drivers. The word driver sounds very pretty annoying, right? Driver is usually meant for a car to be driven. Just think of your Java application as a car. This driver is another program which is actually making our application data to be flown from one location to another. It's actually carrying the data from one location to another location. That's why it was termed as drivers. Okay, but in either of the ways, Java Database API uses JDBC drivers, which are special programs. Programs in the sense, these programs are composed of certain classes. Okay, so at the end, driver is also a class. To connect, this program helps us to connect with the database. Now, why do we use it? Were we not able to interact with the database prior to JDBC? We were able to interact with the database prior to JDBC also, with the help of a specific tool provided by Microsoft called as Open Database Connectivity. This Open Database Connectivity was a part and parcel of your operating system, Microsoft operating system, which was helping us to interact with a limited company's database, such as MS Access. So if you are having limited connectivity, and it was open database connectivity, it was not specialized for Java language. So we need to interact with the ODBC. ODBC used to interact with some specialized version of Oracle. That specialized version of Oracle was trying to interact with the Oracle database. So this was a lengthier process, right? JDBC is Java's own given database connectivity, so it can interact directly with the Java language. ODBC was initially written using C language. So C language is different and Java language is different. C is a procedure oriented, Java is object oriented. There were lots of clashes coming in between this Java application trying to use the ODBC. It was not possible initially. So Java came up with their own version called as JDBC. Clear with this concept now? Why we are going for JDBC when ODBC also exists? Fine. The another part was, since it was written in C language programs, once they are compiled from .c, they become into .obj. If we execute from .obj, they will be converted into .exe. Okay. .obj file is not the bytecode file. It is not platform independent file. We cannot copy .obj file into another system and try to execute it there. It will not work. Whereas Java's file are platform independent. If we copy the .class files into another system of different environment, that particular .class file will still work there. We can compile and execute that particular file there. There will not be any issue. Whereas C language, that program source code should be copied into the system. There it should be compiled and then it should be executed. So source code cannot be given again and again to the normal users, right? So we have platform independence using ODBC, but using JDBC, we can get the platform independence also. What do I exactly mean by platform independence over here is, for example, tomorrow we are not using Oracle database. We are not changing the operating system. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll be back again. I'm getting a call. Boys and girls, I'm absolutely sorry, ma. Again and again, I'm interfering in between the class. I had to take the calls. They were somewhat important for me. I'm absolutely sorry for that gaps that are coming in between. Hope inshallah we will be able to do with this particular slide without any further disturbance. Okay. So now coming further, thank you, Neha. Coming further, the basic concept is, suppose tomorrow I am going to change this particular Oracle database to Microsoft database. If this particular JDBC would not have been there, then what I had to do is, I had to write another Java application code which was meant specifically for Microsoft database. Suppose again after one more month, Microsoft was replaced by MySQL or Sybase, another database, or IBM's database, DB2. Then again I have to change my whole application then. So can, as a Java developer, you have patience for writing again and again applications? And once you have deployed your application on the client side, if the client faces trouble, they will get frustrated and they'll just, without even understanding what has gone technically, they will just become frustrated with what our application is. Our application, whatever we write using the Java language, should work irrespective of what database we are trying to connect onto. That's how our application should be, right? So if our application is built using Java language, it is supposed to be platform independent. Irrespective of the database, it should get connected, right? So this Java application was trying to make use of JDBC instead of ODBC. If ODBC would have been used, then I would have to write different applications. But now with the help of JDBC, that problem is resolved. Okay, that was one of the best advantages of JDBC for us. Do remember, Java database connectivity drivers, the classes which help us to connect onto database, are written in Java language only. So they have got lots of security features with them, using which we can securely log in into databases. Whereas in ODBC, it was written in C language. Do we have any public, private, protected access specifier modes in C language? No, we don't have any locking mechanisms. But Java provides us lots of security, apart from what security is given from the Oracle itself, right? So now,
MLA, ACP and सरपंच पूरा आगे डिस्कस चल रहा है 10 lakhs आ गए तो चल इनफ
inshallah.
प्रेयर कर भाई
Inshallah. Okay, sir. So let's try to see what is this driver actually. We have got our Java application. This Java application will try to make use of the classes that are written in JDBC, and with the help of these classes, it will try to make use of certain objects which will interact with the Java database driver. This JDBC driver will interact with the database. Okay, so our application will make use of JDBC certain application API. API means application programming interface. These are nothing but a bunch of interfaces provided for us so that we can work with those type of applications. Okay, these are helpful for making an interaction with different software such as databases, networking, all those things. So there are certain classes in Java database API which we will try to inherit, and using them with the help of JDBC driver, we'll try to connect with the database. So whatever queries we are going to write in our Java application, they will be sent to the driver. Driver will carry those queries to the database. Database will perform those queries and try to get the result. It will send the result to the driver. Driver will bring those results back to our application. Is it clear now? So JDBC driver is a software component that enables Java programs that enables Java application programs to interact with the database. Simple definition. So this driver uses a class which is called as driver manager. Uses a class called as driver manager, which helps us to load that particular driver which is suitable for that particular database. For different databases, different drivers are there. What this driver will do is, our Java syntax will be different, Oracle's syntax will be different. Both languages are different, right? This driver will try to take whatever Java syntax is there, try to convert it into Oracle's syntax. If it is Oracle database, try to convert it to Microsoft syntax. If it is Microsoft database, try to convert into SQL syntax. If it is SQL database, try to convert it into IBM DB2 syntax. If it is DB2 database. So this JDBC driver is the main file which is acting like a translator between our Java application and the corresponding database. Okay, so a Java program that uses JDBC API loads the specified driver for a particular database before it actually connects to the database. This Java application loads a particular driver before it connects directly to the database. And this driver will be loaded from JDBC API, and that driver which is loaded will be meant for a specific particular DBMS, so that translation can be done easily. The JDBC driver manager class then sends all the JDBC API calls to the driver, loaded driver. Okay. Now, how many types of JDBC drivers are there? There are 4 different types of drivers. There are how many? 4 different types of drivers. The first type of driver is JDBC ODBC bridge driver. There was already existing ODBC, right? So what Java developers did it, they developed JDBC which was interacting with ODBC. ODBC was interacting with the databases. So we had JDBC ODBC bridge driver now. Another was being written in Java language partially, called as native API driver. What they did is they tried to remove the ODBC's dependency because it was making platform dependence and it was written in C language. So whatever is their security features in Java, they were missing because of this ODBC coming in between. Those security features were gone, and this driver was not so much suitable. It was not acceptable in the developers community. So they come up with another driver called as native API driver, which was partially written in Java language, which was having connectivity suitable enough to be working on one single system. What do I mean by one single system is, the program which we are writing to make a connectivity to database should be written on the same system on which the database server was installed. So as a client scenario, will a client machine have Oracle server installed on his machine? No, it will not be possible, right? So what Next feature was this driver was next enhanced to was it was enhanced to have the networking capability. It was enhanced to have network interaction capability. The Oracle server may be installed on another machine and our application developer may sit on another machine. Still, they will be able to interact through the internet onto the database server. Driver was becoming very familiar, was called as network protocol driver, and it was fully written in Java language, including the network interactions. The software that is required to have the internet connectivity and to have the packets from our client machine to be taken onto server machine and from server take back the response back to the client machine. They all were written in Java language only. But later on, some more enhancements were done so that that particular third type of driver can be enhanced further, can be made to be compressed of lesser size, and it was written as a thin driver. Thin driver. This was more enhanced, had some more security features with regard to networking, and had got lots of other protocols included up. Okay, and this was also fully written in Java language. So altogether, how many different bridges drivers are there? Be quick to answer back in the chat box. Altogether, how many drivers are there? This is important question for you. In exams, it may be asked, and even in interviews, they will ask you. Yes, 4 are there. Correct. Very good. How many are there? 4 are there. Let us try to see their functionalities one after the other, so that we can remember them easily. First one, this was called as JDBC ODBC bridge driver. As I said earlier, it was trying to make use of the ODBC driver which was originally installed by the Microsoft operating system itself, or else on different operating system it had to be downloaded and installed. So prior to JDBC, already this driver were installed by the database developers onto our machines. Okay, so now this Java application, it had to interact with the JDBC ODBC bridge driver, which had to convert all its syntaxes matching to that of ODBC driver's requirement. And this ODBC driver used to interact with different types of databases. Whichever database is installed, it was able to interact with them. So whatever Java's syntax was there, it was converted into the native ODBC calls syntaxes. This native ODBC call syntaxes were converted into native DBMS specific call syntaxes, and the result was also flown in the same manner. The native result of the DBMS given to ODBC. ODBC used to convert it into native JDBC format, and this JDBC used to supply the result back to the Java application. And this was a little lengthy process. And in between, what was happening is all the security features that were there in the Java were taken out by this JDBC ODBC bridge, because ODBC is written in C language. It doesn't understand private, protected, public. It doesn't has that concept inside it. So all those security features were gone, and databases were interacted without any secure code, which was not acceptable by many of the developers. So this was type 1 driver. The same theoretical points I have written here with their advantages and disadvantages. Please go through it. Whatever I am spelling out is the same thing there. Now Java said, okay, kick out that ODBC. Whatever is written in the ODBC, will write it in JDBC itself. So what they did is they have created the type 2 driver architecture called as native API part. This Java program, it was converted into DBMS specific part, and it was able to interact with that one. So here they made the native security features of our Java language were secure, were not lost. But do remember, it was having a problem that this database server and the Java application and the JDBC should be present on the same system where the application was being developed and being used. So it is very difficult. right? But at that age of time, this was something which was new. Later on, it was converted. I'm not going to spell out all these things in front of you. The same thing. Later on, it was converted into networkable driver. So what happened is Java application used to interact with the network protocol driver, type 3 driver. This type 3 driver used to interact with the server, which was connected for making an interaction with the different located database servers. So this server, which was able to interact with different located servers, database servers, was called as middleware server, and it used to have certain network protocols which these database drivers had to follow. For example, one of the network protocols is TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. We have HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Like that, UDP, User Datagram Protocol. You will come to know about all those, or you might have learned in CHN also. So these drivers had to implement all those codes and interact with that particular data middleware in order to interact with different databases. Okay, so type 4 was trying to eliminate that networking dependency also. All those things, networking protocols, again they were written in Java language with more security features, and this type 4 driver was able to interact directly with the database, irrespective of any networking requirements. Okay? So these are the 4 different kinds of drivers that are present. You can go through the theory and write it there. Now let us concentrate on how do we connect the database in a Java language program. This is very important point that you should concentrate on. And to make you to easily understand it, I have just given you a diagrammatic step. These steps, instead of writing them one after the other, I have just put it them as a diagram flow. So first thing that you need to do is you need to acquire a driver from the driver manager. That driver should be pertaining to a particular database to which we wanted to have a connection. Once we acquire the driver from the driver manager, once the driver class is present with us and registered in our program, we need to start making a connection. We need to start making a connection to the database. Okay, once the connection is established to the database, we need to create a statement which can be given to the database to get executed. We have to create a statement which can be executed by the database. Now this statement needs to be executed. Execute query is the next step. Once the query has been executed, then we need to close the connection. Okay. Now, this 5 set of statements are so important for you to remember that without these 5 steps, if any one of these steps is missing, your JDBC connectivity to the database will not work. Okay, so for that purpose, as a layman's example, I am giving you a simple example for your remembrance sake. Do not use it for your technical writings. Don't write it in exam. Just to make you to by heart, I am telling it. Suppose you want to make a call to your friend. What will you do? You will pick up your mobile, right? Right? After picking up the mobile, you will start typing that particular number. You will search for a particular friend, you will type that particular friend's number, right? Or select the contact. The same thing we are doing. We are trying to register in our phone whatever friend's contact is there. From the database manager, which is containing different driver classes for different databases, we have registered in our program a specific driver to whom we wanted to connect to. Okay. Then after that, what we have to do? After typing the number, we have to click on the call button so that the connection can be established. Okay, so we will try to establish a connection. Once the connection is established, the friend has lifted the call. What is the next step? You will think in your mind what is to be spoken with that friend. Hi, hello, how are you? Or are you bad? Are you good? Something. But some of my friends are there who are good enough without even telling hi, hello, or wishing. they'll start directly calling me without even getting to know who lifted the call. I don't know with what sixth sense they will get that I lifted the call. There will be some members, right? So we have to create a statement which we want to spell out in front of them. So create a statement. Next, whatever statement has been put it by you, that should get executed by your friend. That should get interpreted or understood by your friend. And finally, when all the interaction is done, what do? Cut off the call or close the connection. Easy an example for you to remember. Clear? So those things I have written back so that you can remember them easily. What will happen in register the driver? To ensure the portability and code reuse, the API uses the design to be independent of the version or the vendor of the database as possible. This was with regard to which driver? Fourth driver. It was giving us the independence of the environment. Now, since different DBMS have different behavior, we need to tell the driver manager which DBMS we wish to use. Why do we need to tell the DBMS which database we wish to use? Because different DBMS has different syntaxes. For example, I am telling. In case of your Oracle, single quotes are used to represent character data types, values, right? But in case of Microsoft SQL, it uses double quotation for representing the character data type values. There is a syntactical behavioral change. You need to adopt to it. So we will make use of that driver, which is specifically meant for the database to whom we wanted to interact to. Okay. So to the driver manager, will ask us to give a driver, which is just a class, actually just a Java class, which is correct enough to interact with the database. To have that particular part, once the driver name is known, once the class name is known, we need to register it to our program, which is being executed by us. To register it in our program, just like how we will have import package java.io.asterisk, just like that, we need to mention or register it in our program that particular driver class. To register it, we will be using a method called as for name. We will use a method called as for name. So what is the method used for registering of your driver to your Java program? For name. This method is a predefined method inside a class whose name is class. It may be weird, right? Do you recollect the morning session class where we had a throwable type of class? Can anyone remind me what was the super class for throwable? Can anyone remind me back? Super class for all the exception categories was exception class. Super class for exception class was throwable. What was the super class for throwable? Can anyone remind me? No one is responding back. JVM, no. It was the class called as object. If you refer back your notes, you will find that particular class called as object. Correct. Now what was the superclass for object, you know? The superclass for this object is class. I'm using capital C here. I'm not using small c. If I use small c, it will be a keyword meant for defining a new class. But this word, which I have written in the comment box, is itself a name for the class. This is a predefined class, which is the root class for everything. Okay, so not let us not waste our time with regard to that. So in order to register the driver which we want to use, we have to make use of a method called as forName. We have to make use of a method called as forName. This method is defined in which class? Class. Okay. Now, try to see how to use that particular forName. This for name is going to have a syntax of this nature. It is public, so we can call it from anywhere. It is static, so it can be called from the static methods. It doesn't return anything, so its return type is void. Its name is for name. It takes one parameter which is of string nature. And this string will take the name of the class which we are trying to register. Okay, so whatever driver class name we are trying to register in our application program, we need to mention it as a parameter here. And it throws an exception called as class not found exception. Suppose the driver class name which we have written here is not existing. It throws an exception called as class not found exception. So whichever method is making a call to this method for name, they have to find, they have to write a code handle this type of exception. Clear? So now let's get back to this line. To register the Oracle driver, what we need to do is we have to make use of the forName method, which is a method present in class, right? So I'm writing class.forName. And what is the name of the driver class that we have got? Oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. This sounds very typical, right? But you need to memorize it. Again, I am telling oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. This is the name of your class. So let me dig it out. What is this one? Oracle driver is the actual class name. Oracle driver is the actual driver class name. It is present in a folder called as driver. This folder is present inside another folder called as JDBC. This folder is present inside another folder called as Oracle. Okay, so Oracle is the super folder in which there is a subfolder called as JDBC. Inside it, there is a folder called as driver. Inside that, there is a class whose name is Oracle driver. Whose name is Oracle driver. So what is the actual name of our driver class, Oracle driver class? Oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. Clear now? So sometimes the student get confused and they will not be able to memorize this particular name. So I'll just make you to feel it convenient to remember. If you follow my technique, you will be able to remember it out. Don't start writing from the first. What is the exact name of your driver? Tell me quickly in the chat box. What's the exact name of your driver to connect on to Oracle database? Oracle driver. Very good. Oracle driver is meant for what? Is it what type of class it is? It's a driver class, right? So before Oracle driver, what you have to write? Driver. Clear? Now driver is meant for what type of functionality? Java database connectivity. Java database connectivity is being happened for whom? Oracle database. Clear with this sequence now? Actual driver name, what is its purpose, what it is, then what is its purpose, then to which database we are trying to connect. So do not start writing from beginning. You will be making a mistake somewhere around. Sometimes you will write the driver first, then the JDBC, something like that. So do not make that mistake. Start from the end. This is my suggestion. If you can remember it, otherwise you can remember it. So now, how to create the connection? First step is over. First step is clear for everyone, right? Second step. To create a connection, we have to use an object of connection class. This is a predefined class present in a package called as SQL, java.sql. This class contains all the syntaxes which are needed to make a connection to be established. This is a predefined class. So we need to make a object of this particular class, and this connectivity will be valid unless and until we close it. Unless and until we close it. So whatever driver created, registered, we will pass that particular driver to the connection to establish the connection for us. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll write driver manager dot get connection. To get our connection established, what method we'll be using? Driver manager dot get connection. So this is the main function that you need to establish. This is just like you are making, after dialing the number, you are pressing the call button here in order to establish the connection. So get connection method of driver manager class is used to establish connection with the database. So get connection comes in two overloaded methods. One of the methods says it's a public static method and it returns a connection. So it's written an object of connection type. The name of the method is get connection. It takes a URL. This URL will say where exactly is our database located. It will say where exactly our database is present. Okay, and it throws SQL exception. If the SQL doesn't, if the SQL connection doesn't succeed, it will throw that SQL exception to the caller. So another version of this get connection is it takes the URL, name of the user, and the password for secure connectivity to the database. In this one, in the URL, we will not provide the username and password, but here we will provide the username and password separately. Is it clear? And it also throws SQL exception back to the caller. So let's try to see what is the URL. How exactly are we going to make use of it? So now we'll first try to make a connection, right? So at the end we'll get a connection object. So I'm writing connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection. This returns a connection object. That's why I'm storing it into connection of type connection. This is the connection object, right? Driver manager dot get connection. So what is this URL? It is starting from here, ending here, and then the username and then the password. So what is this URL? First one, JDBC. JDBC is the API which we are using to connect. Next, Oracle. It's the database name to which we wanted to connect. Thin. It is the type of the driver which we are using. Thin is the fourth type of driver, right? If you recollect. Then colon. At the rate localhost. Localhost is the name given for the self machine. If you are working on the same machine and your database is present on the same machine, then to refer to the same machine, you will use localhost. This word will be the name of your same machine. Or else, if you know exactly where your database is installed, you can mention the IP address of that particular database here. IP address of the system where your database is